Hey, Charlotte, welcome to the Stark Reflections podcast.
Thank you, Mark Leslie LaFerre. I
Well, we were so
had to do that.
and I love that. So we were talking before we started recording. We were talking about you had a personality, like that was your real name, and then you had the stage name. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, a lot of actresses, models, and stuff use like Charlotte Helmkamp was
Yeah,
so long.
yeah,
I just okay, let's shorten it down to Kemp.
yeah.
Okay, fine.
And that so how was that decision made? Because I mean, I used my real name and I just chopped off LaFave for my books and stuff. Was that like a sort of a manager who decided that, or how did that happen?
Actually, I was with my girlfriend and her husband, who was a lawyer, and he was overseeing my contracts and everything. And we were sitting down, and you have to do a Playmate sheet, like your favorites,
Yeah.
all that crap. And I put sex, drugs, rock, and roll. I did like really like stuff, and they said, nope, can't do that. No, get that out, get another one in, or you're not going to have a sheet.
Right.
So I was the first one to put like me, Dinner with Andre. Remember that movie?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so I had my dog whose name was Andre. So I put Dinner with
Oh, it's the
Andre.
dinner with Andre. Oh
Yeah,
God.
yeah. I Most people don't get that, and I
Yeah.
kind of go, oh, whatever. I'm a movie buff, so but no, we just sat down and just put all this stuff in. And I said, Charlotte Helmkamp is just too long. And they said, well, what about Charlotte Camp? And I went, and then we just, tossed it around and came up with it. So
I love that. I love that. So, Charlotte Kemp.
everyone thinks I'm like, who's a senator out of Wisconsin? Kemp, Thomas
Oh,
Kemp
oh,
or
that
something.
you're related in some way. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, no.
Nope. So Charlotte Kemp was the Playmate of the month for December 1982. You were on the cover of that issue as well. Very iconic
No,
photo.
not that issue.
Oh,
October
it was
83.
October
It was
that.
the
Oh,
Redheads issue. Yeah.
oh, that was the redhead issue. That was the photo that I've seen that's
Yeah.
been.
Missy Cleveland, I think, was on the cover of my issue.
Okay. All right. It all blurs over the years. But what you've done is you have
You
obviously a
collected
career.
enough. You should know if it all blurs.
It happens. It happens. Things end up blurring over time. Well, I mean, because you've appeared in the magazine numerous times and on the cover as well and stuff like that. So over the years, it kind of I lose track, of course. I lose track of the things I've done. I can't keep track of what you've done. So
Yeah, really. I should have probably done the pre-interview and told you everything. But then you would have been bored. Your
I would have
eyes would have
forgotten.
glazed. You would have gone, what?
And isn't it more fun that I discover these things as we're chatting? So you had this career in media as a model. I mean, obviously Playboy, like one of the most amazing, largest magazine as a writer, that was the place to try and sell your fiction to because it was the highest paying market. But then we're going to be talking about Centerfolds, the collection of stories you put together where you interviewed 20 different, and you probably interviewed more, but
I actually interviewed like 30, 40 women.
okay,
And when I first wanted to publish this book, it was 1995, 96.
okay,
And Hef, as we talked before, he book blocked me or cuckolded me.
yeah.
And it went to all these publishing, and I had a lawyer in Boston, and a couple of them were, and then all of a sudden they said no. And I went, what the heck? And then I found out that I was being blocked.
Really, really.
Yeah.
But it's not like you tried to put the Playboy logo or anything on that. You were just interviewing
No, it's called
centerfold models.
Centerfolds for reasons because I cannot use the Playmate because that is actually
That's
a
trademark.
trademark.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Centerfolds was before Playboys, and it's a generic term, but
Yeah.
everyone knows what the centerfolds are.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And it wasn't just a popular song in the 80s by the Jay Giles band, right?
Jay Giles,
Jay
Jay
Giles.
Giles.
See,
Oh,
I could never
you're
pronounce that band's name.
Guile, Jay Giles.
Jay Giles band. Yeah. So,
You
but
are a Canuck.
yeah, I am. I really am. So
Jay
you
Giles.
you
I
did
love that. It's
20
so French.
20 models, 20 centerfolds. But we were talking earlier, like you whittled it down to 20. So there's 20 stories. Oh, it was spanning 5 decades, but you interviewed a lot more. So how did you decide who was going to be and what stories were going to appear in the book?
Well, what happened is through like 2 decade spans,
Right,
I kind of looked at the story and I said, you know, which is the most gripping and fun and actualization to see and hear. A lot
right.
of them were really boring. So I was like, yeah, yeah, you know what? I'm taking those out. I mean, I only it's 243 pages.
Yeah.
And, I couldn't put everyone in, but I may be doing a Centerfolds too, because I've got a lot of women who want to participate,
Oh,
which is very
really?
cool.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So let's talk about this. So the journey for yourself, right? How did you get to the point where you became Playmate of the Month in back in '82?
Okay. And I don't want to make this too long-winded. When I was 17, they have casting guys go out to all these different cities.
Okay.
And a casting or scout actually, when I was 17, approached me, and my sister with me, and my brother almost beat him to death. He was like, well, like, "Huh." And when I went to Chicago, I was modeling. I was Miss Shania and doing other modeling with Playboy at that time had a Playboy modeling agency, which was not part of the magazine.
Right.
And Vicky Chiscona said, Charlotte, don't do it. They're going to want you. They're going to want you. And I didn't. So Jill DeVries was my roommate. And she was in April 1978. And we sat down one night, it was Saturday night, and split a bottle of red wine. And she said, "Oh, just come over and look at the Playboy building." She kind of coerced me into it. I got there and they had the whole scene, production, everything ready. David Macy was the photographer. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And, she said, well, just, try certain things. And the next day, I had a limo at my door at 12 o'clock. They approved me like that. And I was like, okay. And I'd never taken off my clothes for photographs. So it was really daunting me. Thank God I was a little drunk, but it was very daunting to me. And so the next day I flew off to Los Angeles
Oh, wow.
and bada bing, bada boom,
Is
you
is
know.
is that was that immediately as Playmate of the Month, or was that just a like how does that work to get that prestige?
Well, in the book, there are several women who it took years to become a playmate because they did test shooting, test shooting, test shooting, and they want boobs bigger, lips, whatever. I did not know this. So when I heard their stories, I was like, what? Are you
Really?
kidding me? Because I was accepted right away. My centerfold was shot like in 2 days,
Okay.
and I was back to Chicago. And
Wow.
it was like it really was a whirlwind. And I just remember coming into the Playboy Mansion and being, girl from the Midwest going, okay, what do I expect? Lance Rensel, who played for the Rams at one time, actually he was in the green room, which is the like solarium to it's like a breakfast room. And he sat down next to me. He said, listen, while you're here, I'm going to be like your bodyguard. I don't want any of these, hefts, you know, uh, com comrades, you know, to take advantage of you or this or that. And he actually was. He never touched me. He actually sat in a chair outside the door of the room I was in, the guest house, and made sure that no one, because I guess fresh meat.
Well, especially a young innocent person
Camp.
who's intimidated potentially by this world, right? A different world. Yeah, so he's looking out for you. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, imagine being 19 and walking into this after you just posed the night before. And as the limo driver's taking me from the airport, he said, "Do you want to stop in Venice and get some Coke or something?" I was like, "What?"
What? Wow.
I was like, "No,
You mean
I'm
like
good."
a cherry Coke, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kind you snuff.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
know.
but I was like freaked out. Like, no, we get to the mansion. I'm like, wow. I mean,
Okay.
seriously. The girls next door, we are the girls next door for a reason because we are not tainted
Right.
and, uh, yeah, I guess just we're not tainted,
Right. Right.
and you walk in there, you just kind of go, wow, okay. And there's like no one there, and Hef comes down and says hello, and you're kind of going, or I was going, hello, Mr. Hefner. And he said, call me Hef. And I was very, very cordial, very non-assuming, no airs.
Right.
And then they said, we'll show you your room. And I met Lance. And I mean, it was just, it was still like a whirlwind. My head was like,
Wow.
ooh.
So you were living in Chicago at the time? Is that or near
Yeah.
outside of Chicago at the
No,
time?
in Chicago, down at State and, God, uh, above Morton's. Anyways,
Okay.
it's right on State and Rush Street.
Okay. So when
And
how did it work then when they got you to become a cover model for other issues or other work that you did? Was it all like freelance or how does that work?
well, what they do, which I totally object to, because I've been in like 24 other publications as the centerfold.
Really?
You don't get paid for any of that. It's not like residuals. You get
Oh.
paid once and boom. And then I've been on the cover of like 12 and they use the same shots, but they change them.
Oh my God. So they paid you the first time and then they just reused
That's
them, but
it.
you not like an actor who in a commercial, every time the commercial airs, you get royalties. So you don't
Residuals.
get additional royalties for this work.
Nope,
Wow.
not at all. And I had my lawyer actually, we were getting paid like 12 grand at that time, and I got my lawyer to up it. And there was a very high up person that said, you're going to for sure be Playmate of the Year and da da da. Didn't happen, but she couldn't fulfill her duties, so I had to take over. So I got monies upon that. But the thing is, no, I mean, I see my pictures all over the world, and I'm like, what? I've never seen it. And people send them to me, and I'm like, I've never seen that.
Wow. That's
So through
interesting.
all the photo shoots they give other countries, books, etc. Yeah, pick what you want, basically.
Wow. Wow. So I mean, but in terms of a career, then that's not like a sustainable income. So, so you've
No.
done as I
Well,
understand.
no, actually it is because for the first 3 years I worked like 40 weeks. I was Miss Budweiser before they had the Michelob Light girls. I was the first Miss Budweiser.
You were the first Miss Budweiser. Okay.
Yeah, for 2 years. And it was so funny. After like I had to go to these huge distributors, all the uh spring breaks, judging and like, you would have to drink beer and what we would do is we pour out the beer and put water in it because I was drunk like all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And it was like I can't keep doing this. So we just pour it out, put water in it.
Wow.
And I went to I think it was 83, 84 when Cardinals won the pennant.
Okay.
And I went with the Bush family and it was very cool.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I got to see all the Clydesdales and the Dalmatians. I mean, yeah, I wish I had an apartment that nice.
So, you've written this book, which is a nonfiction book, and I know that done other writing. When did writing come into your life? Was writing always there, or was it something you got into later on?
Actually, my sister taught me to read when I was 2. I started reading novellas and then novels by the age 4, but I was writing at 3.
You were writing at
And
3. Wow.
my
Wow.
sister did a good job. I mean, it was
Yeah.
at night by our nightlight, and she would bring out a book, and she taught me to read like when I was 2.
Yeah.
But by the time I was 6, I had written J.R. Tolkien. I read some of, you know, uh, F. Scott Fitzgerald. I was reading novels by then,
Wow. Wow.
and I
And
started writing back then too.
So you started writing when you were young, and obviously a very voracious reader. I know we were talking earlier, and you were talking about, War and Peace. Like it was a big tome to get through, but you've gone through all of these classics of literature and stuff. What are you reading now? Like, what do you prefer to read? There's so much choice now.
Right now, I'm going back and reading Dickens because
Okay.
I read them a long time ago, and it's like your retention, and then you see a movie and go, I don't remember that. So you go back to the book, and you just get engaged. Dickens and Hemingway and Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, I could never get enough of Edward Allan Poe.
Yeah, yeah. No, oh, that is fantastic. And so you said so some of the other writing that you did was also poetry and short fiction as well. How
Short
does
stories.
short
The
stories?
poetry
Yeah,
stunk,
yeah.
but my short stories are actually, a lot of people just went, I love your short stories. They're very, there is, I have my own the way I work things, and it has to flow. And then I go back and say, okay, work things through, but it has to flow first.
Right.
And my short stories are kind of sometimes chaotic,
Okay.
and whether you have to like look back to make sure you're reading the same thing, but it flows. It just has to flow my way.
Okay. How do you write? Do you handwrite? Do you type? Like what's the preferred method?
I do both. I
Okay.
handwrite a lot of things, like the beginning of the sentences or characters and stuff, and then I will type them when I start working through it.
Okay.
I do both. You know, I like to handwrite, because a lot of times on the computer, I don't feel it, and I need to feel it. And I can only do that when I handwrite. You know
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a
Do
different, yeah.
you handwrite your novels, or
I can't no, I can't read my writing, so I put it down and it feels good while I'm doing it, but I look at it and it's like a prescription from a doctor. I don't know what it says. So the typewriter or the keyboard is my friend. So at
so
least
in
the
your last
letters
life you were a doctor that had
probably. Yeah.
illegible handwriting?
But I get because I get so into it that I write faster and then I can't read it later on. So at least the letters from the keyboard are the same every time I hit them. So
I do that too. And when I lose a train of thought, I put a post-it, and I write something. Lost train of thought, finish
right.
sentence,
Finish
or
that later. Yeah.
idea. You
So
know,
you said you were working on a collection of short stories that's probably going to be coming out in the next year or so.
probably in the next 6, 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. All
that.
right.
And
So
I'm also working on actually a book. I was the first Playmate ever to have a license from Playboy.
a
And there's,
license.
yeah, I had a license for Playboy running team. I was a big runner, and
Okay.
we had 10 women on the team. And uh, we, for 3 years, I mean, we were on Jay Leno, I mean, just shows and shows, and we raised money for charities and
Okay.
things like that. I was the only marathon runner. The other girls did like 5Ks or 1K. But the thing about it was called Playmates with a Purpose. And I always thought that, people thought, I mean, the A&E thing they just had on makes us all look like we're drug addicts, alcoholics, and whores. And from the very start of when I did Playboy, I wanted to elevate Playmates. They're doctors, lawyers, but that never comes through because they, it's a control thing. Hefner had a control thing, and he didn't want the girls next door to be lawyers, writers, that to elevate,
Right.
that what people thought of us, and that was my contention a lot with Hef and Howard Shapiro. We fought like, you know,
Yeah.
face to face. And I just wanted to kind of elevate and say that, what? We do these things, and we are these people. We are not just naked women in a magazine.
Right.
You know?
Well, I think, I mean, let's talk about the fragile male ego in terms of, okay, I can see a woman as a sexual object, but I can't see her as a doctor or a lawyer, as somebody who worked for common good, as somebody who is an athletic or whatever the other achievement is outside of that visual spectrum. I think
Right, but
that's
remember, you said that you liked like the interviews in the magazine. I
yeah,
love the interviews too.
yeah,
So there was a lot of, technology interviews and everything besides the centerfolds.
yeah.
So I
It was like a
wanted to elevate
lifestyle magazine.
like that kind of status of like being, you know, not just dumb chicks from next door that, Jay Giles, but,
Yeah.
lost my centerfold. I wanted to kind of elevate it and,
Right. So this
mm,
running team you put together, so were you a long distance runner before then, and then you worked
yeah,
like some of the friends you made, you said, "Hey, you're into running too, let's do this."
actually, I was long distance runner and I had a PR guy. He said, you know what? I'll bet these other women would love to do this. And well, I knew they weren't long distance runners, but if they could do like, 5K or whatever, but we would have a commonality of playmates with a purpose. That's what, no matter how far you ran or whatever, that's what I wanted as
Yeah.
playmates with a purpose to show, we, you know, like I said, we're not just, naked women in a magazine.
Yeah, and you're raising money for good causes. Probably bringing attention to causes that might not get that attention otherwise as well.
Right. Right. And, you know, I think I stopped when I got pregnant in 97. I stopped the running team because I couldn't, I mean, I was huge. So, but, we had been on like 51 TV shows all around the country,
Wow.
radio shows, personal appearances, everything. And I think I kind of got it across that, yeah, Playmates with a Purpose
Yeah.
was, a good thing.
Is
It
that
was,
yeah. Did that ever continue when you stopped leading that charge? Did someone else take that over, or was that?
no, I think Danielle Fulta started a team and she got a license too.
Yeah.
But I had always fought with them because I was the first Japanese playmate. And when I went to Japan, I mean, I went, window shopping in Tokyo and stuff like that, and they had Playboy merchandise. And I always said this to Playboy. I always came up with these ideas, but it was like going to a Bergdorf's or Henri Bundel. They were like high end. I mean,
Yeah.
expensive, like Chanel, Louis Vuitton. That's how they had their play. But in this country, they gave it to like this, I don't know, really bad merchandiser. And they
Yeah.
were like, cut off shorts and, like stuff that make you look like Daisy on whatever that.
Daisy
Remember
Duke. Yeah. Yeah.
Daisy did. And I was like, in other countries, they're selling this stuff for like high price. And why can't we elevate, and do that in this country?
Yeah.
And, just I had ideas I brought to Hef and Howard Shapiro and, other people. And they basically didn't get it. They were like, no,
Yeah.
nah.
Yeah. Wow.
And
That's
it was that it was disappointing, a lot of disappointing because I had great ideas and I
right.
knew
Right.
that we could actually do this. But they had already, licensed the merchandiser and it was all crap. It
Yeah.
was like short sleeves, Daisy Duke,
So. You'd mentioned this earlier, and I want to dig back into this, and this is more like the evolution of let's say women's roles in entertainment and media, right? Like you've got this brand that's a brand that's often thought of as the pinup girl, and then you've got the purpose, and then you've got other things like as you said, a woman can be beautiful and can also contribute in different ways to society with different roles and different careers. How do you think have we evolved or have we devolved in that sort of growth out of that sort of
You know what? I think like if you put the spectrum, it's gone like this and it's gone like this. And I think it's kind of there a little bit more,
Right.
in the middle of what, either devolved or evolved.
Right.
I think it's kind of in the middle, a little more on better on evolution, just because women are basically like 68% of America are
Yeah.
women,
Yeah.
and women have found their voices.
Right. More so.
And that's a very slippery slope, whether we've evolved or devolved,
Yeah.
but you kind of have to look at how it's going now. And a lot of women are, most actresses and, singing stars, etc., they own themselves.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
more of men,
Controlling. Well, I mean, Taylor Swift proved that when she just re-released and took over as a creative, just took over that content and showed like I can manage this career really well without the meddling. Um,
you know what? Prince actually did that. And he actually helped two or three women
oh yeah,
and
that's
their
right. Yeah.
stars. And
Yeah.
he took back his name, formerly known as Prince, from whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he got all his publishing rights. He started his own company,
Yeah.
and took it away from Capitol and RCA,
Right.
whatever. And then he helped women do that too.
Yeah.
And I think, I, I love him because I think he was actually more evolved than most men
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Just because he didn't see the aspect of the control issue, he wanted to help and
Yeah.
have people own themselves,
Yeah, they're
you know.
proper. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That IP, that's so the very important IP. So I want to tie this discussion of women's voices and tie that to the work you've done in the book Centerfolds, because now there are and potentially you said there's going to be a spin-off, a second book. You've got the voices of 20 different women, 20 different stories from different backgrounds, and their
and
experiences.
and and Playboy photographers,
Oh, and the
and Cindy
photographers as
Geyer
well.
was a
Okay.
celebrity model who
Okay.
appeared in the book. But I have four photographers who tell stories too.
Oh,
Arnie
really? Okay.
Freitag, Ken Marcus, David Macy, they were huge Playboy photographers, and they say a few stories too.
Oh,
So I
that's
didn't
great.
limit
Okay.
just to Playmate. I wanted to get the like kind of the full view of
Okay.
photographers, a celebrity model, and Playmates.
Oh,
And
okay.
unfortunately, eight of those women have passed,
Right.
but their stories uh, are phenomenal, and they'll be timeless.
And they are available, and people can buy the book now. The book is available in hardcover. It's available in paperback, available in ebook as
And
well.
on Kindle, yeah. And
Yeah.
right now we're doing a holiday special. You just have to go to Amazon and type in Charlotte Kemp Centerfolds or Centerfolds Charlotte Kemp. No, I'm not going to give you the whole
No,
HTTPS
that's
because
fine. I'll have a
it's
link
really
to
long.
it.
It's
Yeah.
long-winded.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Or they can go to cbkmediallc.com and order it from there too. That's
Yeah,
my
and that is your website, CBK Media, you said?
cbkmediallc.com.
.com. Okay, awesome. And we will have show a link to that your website as well as the book on Amazon in the show notes. Where else can people find you online, Charlotte?
I think there's about 900 websites, but
I mean, you
my
have an
Facebook
Instagram
page.
profile, right?
There's a Facebook. Yeah, I've got like four different Facebook pages, and I
Okay.
Instagram all the time, and Charlotte Kemp and Centerfold / Charlotte Camp, and there's two other. I'm actually trying to delete two of them, but they have so many followers that I'm kind of like, okay, I won't do
Yeah.
that.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, I wanted to read you a really kind of cool story
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
had this whole thing about Charles Manson out that, invite the killer, whatever.
yeah,
And Cynthia Myers, who has passed, was in Valley of the Dolls and
yeah.
everything. And she, the night that Sharon Tate and Jay Sebring and two other friends were killed, she had met Jay Sebring. He did her hair, and she had left her ring, and he said, "Well, come over tonight." And there's a whole story about why she didn't go because she would have been part of that whole killing spree.
Wow.
Charles, well, actually, I don't think Charles Manson was there. He kind of ordered his women and one guy to go and kill it. She was supposed to be part of that party.
Oh, wow.
And, Pamela Bryant, who died and was a very, very good friend, so is Cynthia, talks about O.J. Simpson and her affair with him. And, there's stories on it that you kind of would go, wow, wow, I didn't know that. I mean, one of the girls tells about her, Kim Mallon tells about her whole dating Tom Cruise. And I mean, there's like, really cool things. There's some kind of like you go, oh God, that's horrible. But, you know, what I did is I had an editor and he said, oh no, we have to change this. And I told every single lady, that I would not edit except for the ums and ahs and whatever
Right,
out.
right,
I would have it as they said it to me. And this editor was like, "Oh no, we got to say it." I said, "Nope, you're not touching anything.
right,
This is what is going to be in the book because this is their voice." And that's, I always made sure that that was handled as I told the women, you know.
right, right. So is
But
that, does that mean it's a Q&A format or was it written like articles?
um, kind of both
Okay.
because a lot of women they didn't know where to start. So I had like a basically questions. And then I went, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And then they got into their stories. So it was kind of both. It was like I kind of like was the impetus for them to just go on,
Right, right. Yeah.
their stories, but I had to ask the right questions. And if it was not if I was like you or someone, women would not, if you weren't a playmate, they would not actually probably give you the same stories.
Right. Yeah, of course.
They
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
had to connect. We had to connect,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then I had to give them, you know, certain questions that made them, kind of like purge. Yay! Yeah. Now they went on with their stories.
Right. Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of, well, especially since you knew their experience because you were
I
one of them. You're
really
like one
didn't
of the
know a lot of
sisters,
these
right?
women's experiences.
Yeah.
I just had to ask the right questions for them to feel comfortable to
Right.
tell their stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, it, it took like 15 years for me to do that.
15 years of interviews. Now, were they conducted? Did you meet with them in person? Was it over the phone? Like, how did you do most of?
A lot of them were in person, a lot of them were on the phone.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, I had tried to get this book and I had like 28 women. And I got cuckolded by half and Playboy Enterprises. So I kind of took those out, and when half was near death, people, women started opening up more because before they thought, oh God, half was going to be pissed at me. I'm not going to invite to the mansion anymore, and so they were very like tight. Well, when he was dying, everyone kind of opened up. I mean, I guess they didn't care anymore whether Hef would not invite them to parties.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I mean, I know but that's how people's minds work. If
Yeah.
you're in a microcosm like Playboy is, even though you're in LA, it is a microcosm of like, a bigger LA thing.
Right.
But, you know, he kind of owns you a little bit, whether you get invited to parties or this or that and the other thing. And a lot of women, didn't want to be, you know,
So it's like you had to toe the company line or something in order to stay invited to those things.
well, I didn't. I was 86 a couple of times,
Right.
but I always came back and they always invited me back.
Right.
Um, I don't know why, but because I was not, I mean, I think one time Hef and I had a fight and we were playing backgammon. And with the cue, he cheated. And I said, you got to stop doing that. Because in college, I was kind of a backgammon champion.
Right.
And I said, you can't do that. And he was like kind of laughing. And I threw the board at him and it cut him right above his eyebrow. Got 86. But I apologized and everything. I said, okay. But I didn't go up for a lot of events up there. I mean, not, the girls went for movie nights and everything else.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, I can watch the movie at home. you
Yeah.
know, I'm not that, and that's my whole personality. I'm not entwined to be beholden to
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Just not that kind of person. And that's when I, start getting the really good stories out of women,
Yeah. No, I love that.
stories that they probably wouldn't have told, you know,
Yeah. So stories from 20 different people,
20 different playmates,
20 different playmates. Oh, plus 20 different playmates, plus some of the photographers as well. You said five.
5 photographers,
Okay.
and Cindy Geyer, who was a celebrity model.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. And that is available pretty much globally, Amazon around the world. You can get the hardcover, nice collector's edition as well. And then there'll be another one coming out. And then, do you have a title for the forthcoming collection of stories yet, or is that still a work in
Not
progress?
that I'll tell you.
Okay. Is it going to be a
Yes,
secret?
I do.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple of them floating around, but I
Fair
just
enough.
don't want to be
Okay.
Centerfolds too. I want to be a little
Yeah.
bit more creative, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, no, I was thinking about the short story collection.
Oh, the short story collection will
Yeah.
be um for my eyes only,
Okay.
and it'll be short stories.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Well, I look forward to that as well. Charlotte, thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thanks, Mark. Mark Lizzie LaFleur.
Exactly. That's right. You just kind of roll with it.
Isn't that what they tell you about who's like quarterback, LaFleur,
Yeah.
Favre, and people always
Fabric.
say
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Favre, and they always go Favre.
Yeah.
But I didn't tell you one story though.
Oh, yeah, please share. Yeah.
Talked about the
Yeah.
Howard Cosell was the
Oh, yes.
interview in my centerfold.
That was in the 82 December, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at that time, I had been dating Gary Fensick, who played for the Bears,
Right.
and so we went to the Kentucky Derby and the VIP, where all the celebrities go to and everything else. And Howard Cosell was sitting there, and he said, and I had like decent skirt, all and he's like, come over and sit here. And Gary looks at me and goes, yeah, go ahead. And I'm looking at him going, why would I sit on Howard Cosell's lap? So I come over there and he starts kind of like groping me, and everyone's laughing. I jump up and I'm like, smacked him right across the face. And he was like stunned. And I went, I'm glad y'all had fun. And then I pulled my skirt up and showed my underwear. Now you're not laughing, are you? It was just really funny. He thought he could get away with something. I said, you missed that part.
Was Howard Cosell speechless at that point?
He was like, after I like smacked him, he's like stunned, and then I raised up my skirt and like shoved my ass in his face, and I said, "You missed that part," and he was just kind of like stunned, you know. Howard Cosell, and
Um,
my horse did win, and I won a lot of money then too.
oh, that was a good day after all. It turned out to be a good day. Awesome. Well, Charlotte, thank you for sharing that stories. Thanks for sharing your stories. Thanks for sharing the stories of so many of these other women as well. And again, there'll be links, I guess, to your website. Can you repeat the name of your website again for listeners?
CBK Media LLC.com,
Awesome.
and where you also see when you give me this interview, the podcast will be on there, so people can hit different podcasts and watch.
Oh, awesome. Thanks again, Charlotte.
Thanks, Mark.